Hello, everyone. This week, we're not going to do an interview. Instead, we've decided that with certain subjects, it's going to be easier for Nick and I to just talk about what we've learned, whether by our own experience or through someone else's. So today, we're going to be talking about VA home loans. But first, a couple of housekeeping notes.
Yeah, so October 8th, Sam and I are going to set up a booth out at the World War One Museum down in Kansas City for the Monkey Brain Art Festival. So if anybody wants to come down and support some local artists and come see us, we'll have t-shirts, stickers, business cards. So feel free to come down and see us.
And as always, the best way to support us right now is either, of course, buying t-shirts and things like that. But the other way is just spreading the word. If you know somebody that could use the information we put out, or if you know somebody who has information that we may like to put out, please go on our website. Is a great way to contact us. I believe we have a contact tab is what it's called. And naturally, we're on, I think, all the forms of social media. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. Look us up on the Twitters or whatever they are. And sorry, I'm old. And
We don't have TikTok yet.
no, I guess we don't have that. So anyway, feel free to reach out through there with any questions or any suggestions. We do want to hear from you guys. I want to know what issues you want to hear sooner than others. So feel free to reach out.
Yeah, and going off what Sam said, this is a resource for you guys that we want to hear from you, and we're also building a resource page, and we want to kind of develop our website to be able to have easy resources for everybody to be able to go to and just kind of see what we're talking about, or like Sam was thinking about, like a fillable resume. Yeah, so something like that, for example. So we're building that. We'd love to hear feedback so we kind of know what to build. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, we want to make things easy.
yeah.
One of the biggest things I learned from the Army is that you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make them drink. So we want to get the horse's mouth as close to the water as we can.
Yes.
All right.
Without drowning them.
Yes. So, with that out of the way, housekeeping, we should open with a story. Nick, do you have a good one? If not, I've always got them ready.
I didn't have one off the top of my head if you've got one.
Okay, so I'm going to change this guy's name. Those of you who know him are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. But this guy has kind of a saga of stories, which I'll just go into one. So, his name is, we'll just call him Blu-ray. So, Specialist Blu-ray. He,
Could have been Bluebird.
yeah. He was one of those guys that is not the brightest, but he is very kind, and that's why I want to speak of him kindly, even though these stories are hilarious. So, someone at one point needed something cut off their vest. For those of you who are unaware, in the military, we tie stuff off to ourselves a lot, something like a compass or a pocket knife, and that way if you drop it, you don't lose it, at least not so easily. So this person turned to Blu-ray and said, "Hey, will you cut this off for me?" And he said, "Yeah." And so he starts cutting, and the person noticed that it was taking him a minute, which was interesting, given that he just gave him a knife to cut some cord. And so finally he hears, "Man, this is a dull-ass knife." And then the person turned and looked and said, "Blu-ray, use the other side of the knife."
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Plenty more about that guy. I love him. So moving into the main body, we'll start out by each telling our story about buying a house, because fortunately this is something we've actually done. Nick, you want to go first?
Yeah. So it's been about a little over 2 years now since I've purchased my home with my girlfriend Sid, and pretty straightforward. Just kind of got with a local realtor, kind of worked through with the bank on getting all of the information that I needed. So like the certificate of eligibility, I had to get pay stubs, and actually, so we had just come back from our deployment, and I wasn't working at the time. So I ended up having to go back to work earlier than expected because I needed to have enough time worked before I could actually purchase the home, have enough pay stubs to show, to kind of prove that I could purchase that home and afford to pay it. So that was one thing. And then we, it took a while to find the perfect one. One thing was you can also look at foreclosed. So we looked at some of those. And then finally found the one we wanted, got approved for it. And yeah.
All right. A similar story for me.
Yeah.
Bought my house about, I want to say 3 years ago almost. 2020? No, 2 years. Math. So, spring of 2020. So that made it even easier, let alone coming back from a deployment. And basically, I also went back to work early to have a pay stub. I do remember, and I've said before on the podcast, that being on missions looking for explosives didn't faze me, but the whole process of buying a house was terrifying.
Yeah.
So, for those of you who understand, I get where you're coming from. Anyway, went back to work early, went through the process of getting a home. One of the big things, which we'll talk more about, is what a VA home loan means for the seller. And so being educated on that, at first it didn't make sense, then it started to make sense as we went through the process. Also having the things that you need to have in order to buy one, like the certificate of, validity? Eligibility.
Yep.
And of course, which we'll talk about what you need specifically, but there's specific paperwork. And talking to some other people, some banking institutions / mortgage institutions are going to be a little different in what they require. So we didn't want to go down a rabbit hole of getting all the notes because you very well may not use a banking institution where we talk about their requirements. So just know that your bank may ask for things a little bit differently than what we're supplying you here, but these are definitely things that you'll more than likely need one way or another. As for the rest of the story, we ended up buying our house relatively quick, and I think if I go any further into detail, we're going to start talking about the things on our list. So,
Right.
You can kick us off with the next.
All right. Yeah. So what to expect is the VA is pretty strict on their home inspections. So this could lead to some offers falling through, or you might not get the one that you really wanted for some really small thing that sometimes can't be fixed, but I guess sometimes you can't. Like for us, actually, going back to our story, we had to, the homeowners that were selling it to us had to put railings on the back patio stairs so that we could be able to purchase it.
Which is interesting because that was an example our realtor gave us, is that something as simple as a handrail being gone, the VA could say no, which they are kind of putting their necks out there, so I do get it to a degree. But what this kind of means for the seller is that if they have a bunch of offers, even if yours is very enticing, if they see it's a VA loan, they may not go for your offer because it's more likely to fall through. So they want to go with the sure money. We really just got outbid. I don't think we missed a house for that reason. And so I don't want to scare anybody, but that is something you should be aware of.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I was kind of thinking about mentioning too, is like, I mean, this all depends on the markets. So
True.
Yeah, really, it could take you a while to find a home. Sometimes you just get lucky.
Yeah.
But
and then what you need. So we'll talk about that short list. The main things are going to be pay stub, which is probably common for even non-VA home loans. You will need a VA home loan certificate of eligibility, as we mentioned. And then an interesting one to me is a DD-214, but it's a particular one. And so the bottom right of the page, very bottom right, almost cut off the page, it'll say member-4. I guess there's other member dash numbers, like 3 and whatever. It's got to be the -4. And that's what my mortgage guy told me. That luckily it wasn't hard to find. And that's what I submitted. So if you're putting together paperwork, be looking for that because that is important.
Do you want, real quick?
Yeah.
What is this? Like, what is that?
It's a DD214. It's just it's soul I cut out. So,
Yeah.
So to be specific about,
I didn't know if we.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to be specific about what a DD214 member 4 is it looks identical to all the other DD214s. It is a DD214. It just simply says in the bottom right, member -4. And there's different, I guess, versions. And I guess I could be saying this incorrectly, but to my understanding is that there's some level of I don't know what I'm trying to say. I guess I'd liken it to maybe this isn't a thing in Kansas, so this won't help some people, but in Kansas, if you have a star on your driver's license, you have a different level of, I don't want to say approval or validity, something along those lines. And so for whatever reason, it takes a certain amount to have a DD214 member -4. Now, I don't know if that means like maybe if you've been in the reserve the whole time, never deployed, you do have a different type of service than serving active. Your benefits are different. So again, I don't know what that specifies, but I know that it was important.
Yeah.
So excuse me for stumbling through that description of what that is.
No. I was just curious because I didn't know if maybe we wanted to put that in there, you know.
It just looks like a DD214.
Okay. What? Something I was just thinking about too was like, because as soon as you once you join, or do you automatically get the VA loan, or do you have
to be a veteran?
Okay.
So you have to have served on an active capacity or in war.
So that was why we were able to as soon as we got back. Okay.
And even though we were still in the reserve.
Okay.
That's why it pisses my boss off, because he's like, "You're not a veteran." I'm like, "But I am." He is a veteran. So he said that.
Some of the benefits of choosing the VA home loan, one of the biggest ones is 0%. 0%. I didn't get my nap. I didn't.
That is 0%.
Yeah, true.
You're not
true.
wrong. You're not wrong. Not editing that out. $0. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
This is 0%.
Yep. 0% of dollars down. All right. And so some of the benefits of choosing a VA home loan, one of them is $0 down for a down payment, which is huge. You know, not having to fork out a whole big chunk, and some of that can be
on
pretty.
top of closing costs.
Right. Another one on top of that is no PMI, which is private mortgage insurance. We have a quote here that we found online that says most mortgage insurance premiums cost between 0.5% and as much as 5% of the original amount of a mortgage loan per year. So that saves you quite a bit right there.
And the reason for that is that most loans, they want you to put some money down because they're worried about you defaulting. And so the VA, basically the government backs your loan being a VA loan, and so they're not, I mean, they obviously don't want you to back out of the loan, but if you did, the mortgage institution is backed up by by government funding. And so the reason you don't need PMI is because you're using the government as your PMI.
Okay.
Yeah. I forgot to put that in the notes. I don't know how I remembered all that just now, but
man, that's awesome. I didn't know that. That's
yeah. And then why no? So I'm bringing up this next part because I originally thought even if I got a VA loan, I'd still put money down. There's nothing wrong with doing so, but what we talked with our realtor, and I kind of had this idea a little bit before, is some people say, well, you know, why not put money down? Well, something to consider is you could put 10 grand down, let's say, however much your house costs, and then you've got 10 grand equity to one degree or another. However, depending on the status your house is in, if you put 10 grand into a project, put a little elbow grease in yourself, which save you even more money, but even if you pay someone else to do it, typically you might end up with 15 grand equity in your house.
right.
So things to consider when buying a house would be, what does it need, or what are you wanting to do that could improve the value? Maybe saving that extra cash for that project instead.
Yeah, like build a fence or remodel a bathroom
Absolutely.
or something. Yeah.
Our house needed some love, and it got it.
Yeah.
Thanks to no money down.
So another benefit, borrowers currently receiving or eligible to receive the VA service-related disability compensation may also be eligible for an exemption from the funding fee. And what this means is if you are eligible for a disability, you're basically going to get back that closing cost, I'm pretty sure. As soon as you get that rating, you'll get that back if you already spent it. So even if you already did spend that money, you'll get it back. So,
good info. Definitely something I didn't know. In 2020, we'll also add that the VA removed a loan limit, which is kind of exciting because this includes being able to apply for what's called a jumbo loan. Of course, we will do a side note because if you look into a jumbo loan, basically it's a loan where you're approved for way more money than you probably should be spending. So everyone's financial situation is their own. We're not going to judge or comment, but we will advise all members to buy within their limit. And you may also consider contacting Steve and Steffi regarding financial decisions, episode 10, if you're interested. But outside of that, we'll continue on to the fact that it's reusable. VA loans are reusable, so it's not a one and done. It is buy your house, use a VA loan, use it for your second house, and so on and so forth. So all these great benefits are at your fingertips anytime you want to buy a house.
yep. And this is not financial advice.
No. Again, buy within your limits.
None of this was.
So resources, benefits.va.gov/home loans. Of course, we're going to have the links up in our descriptions. You can't click on our voices. We've tried to do that. Couldn't make it happen.
Yeah, and they have a whole VA buyer's guide there you can read, study up on. We'll link that too.
So to lay out a summary, an order of events for people who are unfamiliar, basically you're going to meet up with a realtor, and typically they're going to refer you early on, especially to mortgage individual, someone who loans money for homes, and they're going to get you pre-approved because obviously you need to find out what you can afford, what your price range is. They're going to ask you all kinds of questions. An important one to tell them is that you want to do a VA home loan. I don't know if there are companies that don't specialize in VA home loans, but I know there are a lot of companies that will do a VA home loan. The people we mortgaged our house through, they do VA home loans and they do non-VA home loans. So probably pretty easy to come by. So they'll get you all set up, tell you what you need, as we talked about, give you that list of things they need to see. And then once you're approved, you pretty much go on about your business as you would any other time, keeping those things in mind. And I feel like I can't stress that enough, not to scare people, but pay attention to things in houses like railings. We had to have some wood rot work done, which is kind of complicated because it was as is. So do pay attention to the house and the status is in, because know that the government might turn down the loan. So
Yeah, maybe they're saving you from something that's
also true.
yeah,
Also true.
better to be thorough than.
So for those of you looking to use a home loan to buy a fixer-upper per se, do be aware that you may have to do some other finagling, or you may not be able to use a VA home loan depending on what you're paying for the house and what it's priced at, as well as the status of some of those things.
Oh, there's something else too. I think there's another requirement where you have to actually, I was just thinking about the investment type side of it. I think you do have to live in the home if it's a VA home loan for about 2 years, if I'm not mistaken.
I will take your word on that.
Yeah. So something to consider. If you're thinking about investing, you could buy like a duplex or something and live in one side and rent out the other.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But I think you do have to live somewhere on the property when you're doing the loan.
Camper van.
Yeah. Tent out back.
Yeah.
Just a cot.
So yeah, and then that's pretty much it. When you're approved, buy your house, and everything else will kind of work like normal. So for those of you who bought a house before and now have the opportunity to use a VA home loan, most of the process is going to be very similar to what you've experienced in the past. And that pretty much wraps it up.
If Sam and I can do it, you can too.
That's absolutely true. Granted,
we made it.
We had significant others guiding us. So
Yeah.
I got to give a lot of credit to my wife.
Definitely.
Walking me through it, telling me I could do it. You can do it. buy the house, you can do it. Sign here. Please reach out to us with questions.
Yeah, we want to reiterate that. We really want this to be, it's for you guys, so we need feedback, we need ideas,
If there's
how
things,
we can help you.
Yeah, if there's things you think we should add information-wise, we'll probably do another episode on the VA home loans, and also on our resources tab. That's where we can have things written on our website that are easy to access. We can put that information there.
Yeah.
So again, by all means, reach out. We want this to be as much your guys as it is ours. So information.
Yeah, or ideas on people you want us to interview too. We'll reach out to them. Anything you got.
All right. Well, I'd say for now, that's a wrap, Nick.
That's it.
Congratulations on our first non-interview episode.
Yeah, wow.
Misty-eyed.
We did it.
We thank you for listening, and we hope you got something helpful out of this.
Right now, the best way to support us is to simply spread the word. If you know a fellow veteran who could use some resources to elevate their life, send them our way.
Until next time, remember to check your 0s, 5s, 10s, and 25s.